We all know Lois Griffin can be, well, a bit unhinged sometimes. Between her questionable past and her chaotic marriage to Peter, she isn't exactly winning Mother of the Year awards. But believe it or not, beneath that crazy Rhode Island housewife exterior, there's a fiercely protective mama bear waiting to strike.
Oh, I thought I was gonna break in two. He was 22 inches and 11 pounds, but I knew he was gonna change my life for the better.
Today, we're counting down times Lois Griffin was actually an amazing mom, maybe? Let's start the show. Kicking things off with Season 23, Episode 17, Martian Meg. Have you ever been so fed up with your family that you literally tried to leave the planet? Well, Meg did. And Lois has to go full action hero, literally crashing a space rocket just to save her. Let's break it down. The whole mess actually starts with Lois being, well, classic Lois. She comes up with the most ridiculous excuses to avoid going to a concert with her daughter. Apparently, she needs Thursday through Monday just to prep for Tuesday.
So sorry, sweetie, but I'm busy that day.
I haven't said what day it is yet.
Makes total sense, right? So Meg decides to just go by herself. But brace yourself for the ultimate betrayal. When Meg gets there, she spots Lois in the crowd. Lois claims she found a Groupon that made her ticket $4 cheaper, completely ignoring the fact that Meg's tickets were literally free to begin with. Mother of the Year right there. Feeling completely alienated by her own family, Meg spots a recruitment ad for a one-way trip to Mars. And honestly, most of us would probably support this decision for her. Surprisingly, Lois is totally cool with it. Why? Because she thinks Meg is just bluffing.
You see what I did there, Peter? That is some next-level jujitsu parenting right there.
Oh yeah, I get what you're going for.
Treating it like a toddler threatening to run away from home. But Meg is dead serious. She dives headfirst into astronaut training. This includes practicing cool one-liners for when she steps on Martian soil and training for the harsh, cold climate by wandering through an abandoned Bed Bath & Beyond. Hey, we all know the Beyond section is basically another dimension anyway. When selection day arrives, Lois is still sticking to her hands-off. She'll come to her senses, parenting style. But then, the announcement drops. Meg is officially chosen to be the sole astronaut going to Mars. Suddenly, Lois is in full panic mode. She tries to talk Meg out of it, but Meg is standing her ground. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance.
But as your parents, we forbid it. Right, Peter?
Lois, kids go to Mars. That's what they do.
And if she's going to be alone for the rest of her life, she might as well do it on another planet in the name of science. But right before she leaves, her family and friends actually start being nice to her. I know, shocking. It almost gives Meg second thoughts, until Peter gracefully seals the deal by crop dusting her right in the face. Good old Peter. Cut to the day of the launch.
Now I'm actually feeling kind of sad to leave you guys.
Yeah, too bad you can't back out now. You'd be widely hated, and deservedly so.
Lois finally realizes her wait-and-see strategy was a massive fail. She tries to get NASA to call it off, but they've spent way too much money to just stop the countdown. So as the rocket is about to take off, Lois literally sprints out and grabs onto the side of the spacecraft. The slight shift in weight from her mom's strength completely throws the rocket off balance, causing it to spiral out of control and crash safely into the water. I've got to admit, seeing Lois risk her life and hang onto a barreling space rocket to save Meg is pretty heartwarming. Maybe next time, Meg should just run away to Florida. It's still basically an alien planet, but way easier to drive to. Moving right along to Season 13, Episode 9, This Little Piggy. Ever wonder what happens when Meg finally gets noticed for her looks? Well, it turns into a highly questionable underground foot fetish party, and Lois has to burst in to save her daughter from permanent psychological damage. Let's get into it. It all kicks off when Meg is randomly approached by a photographer who asks a question she probably never expected to hear. Have you ever modeled? Which is hilarious, considering if you look closely at the Griffin's family albums, every picture of Meg is actually just Chris wearing a wig and a hat. Meg goes home to tell her parents the big news, and their reaction is exactly what you'd expect.
You know, it would be nice if you guys believed in me just once. You're being terrible parents, even worse than John Edwards.
Meg is understandably upset that they don't believe in her, but Peter and Lois figure they're in the right, because being a parent is less about taking care of your kid and more about just being right. But Meg actually goes to the shoot. That's when she learns exactly what kind of modeling she'll be doing. Yep, people pay big money for pictures of sexy feet. Hey, respect the hustle, Meg. The best kind of money is the kind you're too embarrassed to tell your family about.
Well, Meg, the thing is, my name's Evan, by the way, a lot of people will pay good money for pictures of sexy feet.
She gets 35,000 views in a single night. And apparently, in the weird world of foot modeling, it's actually a huge success if they look at the least amount of pictures possible before. Finishing up, very interesting and very gross. But Meg is just thrilled that someone is finally saying nice things about her. Of course, it doesn't take long for the resident degenerate of the house to stumble upon Meg's new portfolio. Chris bursts in and announces to the parents that Meg is doing foot, a phrase literally no parent ever wants to hear.
What the hell? There's an animated version of you and me doing it. Who put that on there?
Lois immediately goes into protective mama bear mode, demanding that Meg stop right now for her own safety. But Meg is defiant. She tells them there's a massive party being thrown in her honor tonight. Lois tries to ground her, but Meg walks right out that door. Those feet were made for walking, and for doing some really gross stuff, apparently. To figure out where Meg went, Lois and Peter have to ask another local degenerate, who lets them know it's a shoe party. What's a shoe party? It involves 50 guys, 1 foot, and a giant plastic tarp. Yeah, we have officially crossed the line into pure nightmare territory.
Shukaki? What's that?
It's 50 guys, 1 foot.
Oh my.
Luckily, Lois manages to track down the location and bursts in just in the nick of time, shutting the party down before that giant tarp ever gets put to use. She pulls Meg aside and tells her that she shouldn't have to do things like this just to feel appreciated. It's a genuinely sweet moment. Sure, Lois is getting a little slow on the draw. Maybe she could try just being nice to her daughter before Meg enters the dark web. But at the end of the day, she stepped up to protect her kid before her feet were irreparably changed forever. Next up, we're throwing it back to Season 5, Episode 1, Stewie Loves Lois. What happens when the world's most diabolical baby suddenly stops wanting to end his mother's life and starts obsessing over her instead? Well, Lois is forced to deploy some serious tough love just to win her freedom back. Let's check it out. It all starts at the local park. Stewie quickly learns the hard way that he can't just talk to every random dog the way he talks to Brian. A stray dog ends up completely mauling his beloved teddy bear, Rupert. Just another tragic tribute to the sandbox gods. It's common knowledge that you're bound to lose at least one toy at the park, but Stewie is absolutely devastated. He's practically hoping Rupert signed a prenup and updated his life insurance policy.
Please live, please. I'll never be short with you again. We'll go away. We'll go to Hawaii. Would you like that?
Luckily, Lois is a real whiz with a needle. She manages to sew Rupert back together, and even makes Stewie his favorite dinner to help him feel better. This triggers a massive realization for Stewie. He realizes that the woman he spent his entire life trying to destroy is actually a thoughtful, loving mother. Who knew, right?
Stewie loves Lois. Brian loves Olympia Dukakis. Oh, yeah, I do.
So, Stewie does a complete 180. He goes through a massive personality change, vowing to be the absolute best-behaved baby Lois has ever seen. He starts showering her with constant affection, which honestly starts to creep Brian out.
Keep hitting on my woman e te mato, pero feo. I do hit on Lois. Estúpido, tú eres un imbécil, te odio. And another, what?
Brian even asks Stewie to stop hitting on Lois because, well, it's just weird. But it doesn't take long for all this intense love bombing to completely wear Lois down. We all know that iconic scene.
Mom! 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 Mommy! 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 Mama!
God help all the parents who had to deal with kids repeating that exact joke for years after watching Adult Swim. Unfortunately, the constant smothering drives Lois to her absolute breaking point. You can practically see in her eyes that she's thinking about doing some smothering of her own with a pillow. To save her own sanity, Lois decides it's time to cut the cord. She starts completely ignoring his advances, setting some much-needed boundaries. This sends Stewie right back into his old, evil ways, screaming that he will not be ignored. Now, it might seem a little harsh to give your baby the cold shoulder, but establishing boundaries is just as important as giving them all the attention in the world. It may not look pretty right now, but Lois definitely made the right choice.
Mommy, I'm dying. I'm dying. I said I'm dying. Hey, I'm dying up here.
Finishing things off with Season 22, Episode 11, Teacher's Heavy Pet. What happens when a mom becomes a substitute teacher and accidentally sparks a massive, highly illegal rumor about her and her teenage son? Well, Lois proves she's willing to risk actual prison time just to keep Chris in the cool kids club. Let's break it down. It all starts when Lois starts feeling a little shown up by another PTA mom. Naturally, she decides she needs to give back to the school to prove a point. Passive-aggressive mom warfare at its finest. Luckily, she gets an email saying the school is desperately looking for a substitute teacher. And hey, she has experience. Sure, her first time ended with her getting fired for her highly questionable sex ed methods, and her second time led to a literal fistfight with Connie D'Amico, but third time's the charm, right?
You can't just say you're a teacher.
Oh no? Every other man these days throws on a dress and suddenly he's a woman, so
She even throws on a blonde wig and a beauty mark to go full Marilyn Monroe, because high schoolers definitely won't mock that. Going by her maiden name, Miss Pewterschmidt, Lois steps in to sub. Unfortunately, she ends up right in Chris's class.
Whoa, check it out, a blonde. That means she starts at a B-.
Look at that body.
To make things infinitely more awkward, after the bell rings, Chris is spotted getting into the exact same car as the new substitute. He tries to hide, but the damage is done. In the high school ecosystem, being spotted in an enclosed space together means one thing: you are definitely hooking up. As rumors about their secret relationship start to swell, Chris suddenly finds himself getting a lot of attention from the popular kids. He totally leans into it, telling them, "Let's just say she and I slept together under the same roof." That is quite literally the absolute limit of what he can say about his mother without going to super hell.
I'm so proud of you. I know you didn't want me to be a teacher, but it's such a thrill to see you making new friends. See you later, Chris Griffin.
Meanwhile, Lois is completely oblivious to the gross context. She's just thrilled to see Chris finally making friends, cheerfully waving goodbye to him in the halls, unknowingly fueling the teenager's wild fantasies. But talking the talk can only get you so far. In a hormonal environment like high school, the kids demand physical proof. They want a scandalous picture of Miss Pewterschmidt, or Chris is a liar.
Okay, but I have to warn you, sometimes she looks exactly like Halle Berry bent over the sofa in Monsters Ball.
Chris tries to get the photo, but thankfully he can't fully bring himself to cross that line. At least he's not a Quagmire-level dirtbag just yet. Still, a very misleading picture is taken without proper context, and it immediately gets passed around the school like wildfire. The verdict is in. Miss Pewterschmidt is officially sleeping with a student. It doesn't take long for the truth to come out.
That's her. And it looks like someone in her home is using Carasoak shampoo for color-treated hair.
Once Lois realizes the insane misunderstanding that has taken over the school, she pulls Chris aside for a chat. Chris admits he just wanted to be in with the cool kids, no matter what it cost. And what it could cost is sending his mom to jail for a very long time. But Lois comes to a shocking realization. Jail time is temporary, but high school popularity is eternal. So, instead of clearing her name and ruining his reputation, Lois takes the ultimate fall. She marches into the classroom and loudly declares that Chris Griffin was the best she ever had, ignoring the deeply disturbing implications of that sentence.
Chris Griffin was the biggest thing I ever had.
I guess you could say this was an incredibly sweet thing for Lois to do. A lot of moms say they'd die for their kids, but not many are willing to catch a heavy felony charge over a fake romantic relationship just to protect their kid's social life.